loves me, and he loved me too much to pray for me in the way I need to pray for me. No, I'm just joking. He loved me too much to embarrass me in front of people. No, let me pray really quick. But Lord, I ask that you be with my heart and be with my spirit and cleanse me from any thoughts that are not like yours, any way that I walk that's not how you would view people or think about people or circumstances. As I explore this concept together with this church family that I love so much, and as we talk about Advent, your arrival, I ask that you would flow through me, hide me behind the cross. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right, I needed that. I used to hear preachers say, I just need to pray. And I'm thinking, aren't you prepared enough? You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not quite about preparation. It's just about my heart. Okay, so ideate. Let's ideate. What about those opportunities to serve? What about those next steps? And I'm not asking for necessarily a brainstorming session. I want to be responsible with our time, and I don't want to be too, here's another one, extemporaneous in our suggestions so that they're just punctilious. I'm really not doing this on purpose. I've been using punctilious. I have punctiliar in my sermon. So you know how sometimes when you use a word recently, it comes to mind when you can use it again? Not intentional, but not to be, yeah, right. But I don't want them to be so spontaneous that they just kind of they land on the surface and they blow off the surface. You know what I mean? I want us to really think about ways we can ingrain these ideas deep into our minds and our action plans, all right? So the original church was a church that did life together. Years ago, I was talking to my wife, and I said, I really want to move into a space where, not a physical space, but a metaphorical space where we take that next step as a church, right? What's needed? What's the next step? And Amber said, in my experience, one of my favorite church experiences was a church in Washington. It was the one in Washington where they did life together. They played ball. No, that was Arizona.
No, it was
Iglesia Bautista. Yes, in Washington. That's right. And it was a Spanish church. And a lot of people in the Hispanic community, even in America, value family and community a lot more than most people of my culture, right? A Norwegian import to New York. We're like the worst of all worlds when it comes to that, right? If we're not pillaging and invading with our horned Viking helmets, we're staying to ourselves, right? So what's really cool is that for some people groups, it requires more intentionality than others. For some cultures, it requires more intentionality than others. For our culture and our people group, as it were, what do you mean your people group? There's different variations of descendants and races and backgrounds. And when I say our people group, I just mean our culture here in Mid-Coast Maine. Wherever we come from, we're here now. And I do think that Northeasterners, the frozen chosen, do tend to be a little bit more. Reserved is a good word, How you feeling today? Yeah. Did you go to that concert? Yeah. You have a good time? Yeah. Do you like Moxie? Oh.
No.
You know what I'm saying, right? It's like, but I just had a full conversation with somebody. You know what I'm saying, right? And whereas in the South, there'd be a lot of sweetheart sugar, honey pie biscuits, and those are just nicknames. You know what I'm saying, right? So in our culture, I think we have to be more intentional. No, I'm not going to say I think. In our culture, it is absolutely true that we have to be more intentional to have a community-focused mindset and to do life together throughout the week. But let's also be honest. I got in trouble for being honest in the church chat a while ago. You say, what do you mean trouble? Nobody did a laugh emoji except one or two people, and I know that it wasn't well received. I did this thing where I was capitalizing on something Nancy said in Sunday school. And this was maybe a couple months ago, and I said, all right, I got to not try to be so hard to be the funny guy. I'm just going to keep my jokes to myself and spend them on my family, or at least test drive them on my family. And I posted a meme of this guy looking kind of disappointed, nonplussed, right? Just like, come on, I don't have anything to say to that, right? And I said, the face you make when the guy that you offered help to actually asked for help. You know what I mean? And you're like, and it's just kind of like, oh, I didn't know you actually were treating this seriously. I actually don't feel that way. I don't, but my flesh sometimes does. I'm on the way home from work. It's like 4:30, sun's going down. Somebody says, hey, can you pick up groceries for me? You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, all right, it's an opportunity to be like Jesus. I could suffer for him by going 5 minutes out of my way. I'm making it sound a little ridiculous because it kind of is, right? Anyways, why do you say all that, Britt? Well, just like that is the case when we say something and we say, okay, I mean this. When the rubber meets the road, it can get a little bit harder and we can get kind of exhausted and it can meet resistance to our flesh, right? How so, Britt? We say, hey, let's do more together as a church to really do life together as a church family. Then when we have, more than one activity every couple of months, it can kind of feel like fatigue. Sometimes there's a reason for that. Sometimes our lives do get busy and we say, Britt, I love you, I love the church, but I got a mortgage to pay. And you know what I'm saying? I totally get it, okay? And I got the kid's birthday party over here, or, retirement ceremony over in Brunswick, and you're in top, you know what I'm saying, right? Like, life happens.
Well,
Kim.
we used to have revival meetings.
Yes.
Every night.
Yep, for a week.
Yeah.
Yep, and then they shortened it to like Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the super spiritual. But there used to be, even in early America, month-long revival meetings in a tent, in the cold. You know what I'm saying, right? So like, would someone be justified in saying, well, we're backsliding as a nation? Maybe. It also could just be a culture shift. But I want to talk to you about that very briefly. What might sometimes be perceived as an innocent or innocuous or harmless culture shift could actually be a devilish plan by the powers that be. I was just saying earlier, actually, Satan cannot attack the word of God and he cannot attack the church. And so what he's going to do is put up all kinds of cultural and real life barriers and obstacles to us doing life together like we should. So what do we need, Britt? Are you saying we need more events every week? Britt, I love you, but no, hold on. I'm not saying that. Maybe it's actually not about the events. I think we're striking a pretty decent balance on events. Maybe it's just about hospitality and doing life together. I want to be the kind of guy, and I think you want to be the kind of guys and girls who say at any time somebody could come knock on my door and say, hey, can we hang out? If I'm watching the game tomorrow night, Monday night, I probably won't be because I'm leaving Tuesday. I want to do something special with the kids. But if I'm watching the game and somebody says, hey, can I come watch the game with you? That shouldn't be considered an imposition. That should be considered an opportunity. And that's not just a rewiring of words. Don't just love your job, job your love. Somebody actually said that. Don't just love your job, job your love. And then the guy who's interviewing this girl, of course she's beautiful, so he's going to do anything it takes to, get her on a good side. And he goes, I really love that. I really love that, he says, in his beta way, Sorry, I got to calm down a little bit. I've only had one cup. But you know how it is, they get all these soft voices. I really love that.
Has he adjusted his man?
Right? And I'm like, what do you mean you really love that? You don't love that? You don't even understand what she's saying. She doesn't understand what she's saying. Stop this. Stop it. Maybe I shouldn't have asked to live stream. I'm in rare form. No, I'm just saying, right? Don't just love your job, job you love. That's just foolishness, all right? That's like Confucius say, he who runs in front of car gets tired. He who runs behind car gets exhausted. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, right. That's just wordplay, right? Empty, vain wordplay. Real stuff, though, is what if we stopped looking at interruptions and impositions as those things and started looking at them as invitations and opportunities? It really depends on your heart. And to close this tirade, I'm just going to focus on Jesus for just a minute. Jesus was the kind of guy who, I was actually just talking to Brian earlier about it. He was the kind of man who liked his time with people, but he also liked his time alone. I feel that way. You say, no, you don't. Guys, I'm a social butterfly when I'm around people. But there are times when I do need my time. And by my time, I mean me and my family. I don't like alone time, alone. I like time with my wife and my children at this stage in my life, right? That may change. My wife might go, man, I really can't wait for you to want some real alone time. I might get some too. Okay, I get it, right? But Amber could be the first one to tell you. She lives with me. She could narc me out. Man, she knows where all the bodies are buried. She knows all the closets with all the skeleton. And she knows I love to a fault each and every person in this room. Donna might be thinking, not me. I love you, Donna. I do. You say, I haven't been here in a while. You're used to talking to the audience. No, I know you and I love you. Mostly because you're good to Kevin. So, I mean, that just has favor. That just, yeah. No, but But like, I love each and every one in this room. But that does not mean that at least in my flesh, I want to get up out of my chair on a Sunday night at 9:30 and go over to your house to hang out and eat pretzel sticks and drink Diet Coke. But if I did, who could tell the positive outcome of that? I'm just saying. Harvard just released a review that said, go back to church, it's good for your health. And even if Harvard, the bastion of sanctification and godliness, and even if they can tell you that what we need is more community and pushing ourselves into social interactions, this Christmas season especially, the Gospel Coalition had a really good article that said, go to the holiday parties. Go to them. Because there are opportunities to witness, there are opportunities to socialize, there are opportunities to be blessed and to bless others. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think we need to put ourselves in a more community-oriented situation and resist the isolation. I want to be very careful to say, looking into Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, he liked and needed his time alone, and we need to like and need ours too. Those are needs, okay? But at the same time, let's not allow the pendulum to shift too much in either direction, and we say, I need to embrace community. Because this is what all this is leading to, whether by force or by decision. I do think we're approaching a time in the next 20 years where the shape of the church in America will change. And I cannot see a downside to that. I think the current model is ripe for breaking. And I think there are churches like ours who make the most of the current model, file in, sit down, sing your songs, listen to preach, and go home. I think we do more than that. But I think a lot of Christians are starting to see the value of community. And in the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I've got to say about that. What is Advent? Advent is a historical sequence of weeks leading up to Christmas. It's a word that means arrival. I just want to wrap it to you a little bit about, I'm sorry, should I have said dialogue, interface? I wish to interface with you about this. No, I'm going to wrap with you. I'm going to bebop with you. I had seconds for another interruption. This guy, his name was Andrew, and he was the training manager or whatever of the United States Beef Corporation, which was a franchise name for that managed the Arby's, of which I was a manager. And how did they come up with the name? He was registering for a conference and they said, what's your franchise name? And he didn't have one. So he came up with it on the spot, United States Beef Corporation. And it stuck. And so I worked for Arby's, which was part of the United States Beef Corporation. Anyways, this guy, he, hold on, Advent, historical sequence, leading up to Christmas, word that means arrival, bebop. He introduced himself, and this is it's a pretty significant name, right? And he sits around the table and everybody's introducing themselves. Hi, my name is Michael Britt. I'm a manager at the Oklahoma City Arby's at 23rd and Meridian. And I've been doing that for a couple of years now. Just having a good time, just learning and experiencing opportunities to dialogue, interface, and ideate among my peers in order to improve process flow and synthesize our energies and synergies to production. Well, this guy, Andrew, he goes, yeah, my name's Andrew. I've been bebopping around the Arby's world for the last 13 years. I have a pretty good time. Everybody loved him way more. Because it turns out that it's not all about the big words, So anyways, so when I say things like rap and bebop, it's not intentional. It's just, sometimes I'm just letting my hair down. There it is. All right, so I'm gonna bebop with you about Advent. What? No, I don't have much hair. No, my wife, she cut my hair last night. She always does a fantastic job, and I said, she's like, how do you want it? And I literally said, I don't know how to answer that question. And then before long, we were throwing lamps, picked up the kids' Play-Doh. No, come on. I said, I really don't know how to answer that question. She goes, I'm asking you a really simple question, like, how do you want me to cut your hair? And I said, how you always cut it? She goes, you don't ever ask for the same thing twice. And I said, you've never asked me how I want my hair cut. And she says, yes, I have. And I just was quiet after that because I'm thinking, here's the thing, her memory is better. I've learned to trust her memory. I mean that. That's why God gave me this helpmeet. It's not really a word, but I call her a helpmeet because she's a helper to me, right? An Azer in the Hebrew. And so I said, just really short on the sides and long on the top. And she said, Michael, I will do whatever you ask me to do. And I showed her a picture of what I really liked. And it was really short on the side and it was kind of long on the top. So it had the illusion that I had hair. She goes, you see this part right here? And I'd never noticed it before. She said, this is where your real hair stops. And this is kind of like where the comb over starts. And it's pretty obvious if you're looking for it. And it's probably obvious to everybody but me. when I wear that hairstyle. And so I was like, babe, you cut it however you want it and just do this. And she goes, I will try. And she did, and it looks fantastic. Obviously, I'm a model right now. You know this. And so
Probably shouldn't have done it so late at night.
it was a little dark. I'm having a blast. I don't care. I'll just wear a hat at the conference if it gets really bad. But anyways, I'm just saying it might be time, right? So I'm going to let what metaphorical hair I have down, and now we're actually down to the 15 minutes, so we killed enough time. No, I just want to spend time with you. All right. It's a historical sequence of weeks leading up to Christmas. It is a word that means arrival. Advent simply means approach or coming, right? So when we talk about the advent of Christ, there really are two advents. The advent of Jesus in the Christmas season, right, that we talk about, and then the second advent that we historically in America we call the second coming. But it's also an Advent. But we usually only use Advent to talk about Christmas, kind of keep them separate in our minds. Each week of Advent symbolizes one of four main themes: hope, peace, joy, and love. And this week is Hope Week. You say, Pastor, are you preaching a Christmas sermon? Normally I would be on the first week of Advent, but we just got done with John 2. And it leads right into John 3. And then right after John 3:21, there's a clean break into the next section of narrative. So when we get back together on the preaching in John, I'm actually going to be preaching from Numbers 21. And then we're going to get right back to John because there's another sermon on this, on being lifted up in the wilderness. And it's going to be called Nehushtan. And it's going to be, some of you will understand what that means, but it's when good things go bad. And we're going to talk about that because it's coming right off of these texts. So, I cannot break right now into a sermon on hope. And then I'm like, I'm preaching on John 3:16. What better way to preach on hope? So I'm not trying to shoehorn it into Advent, but I think it's pretty much there, especially where the passage closes with John saying, there was a light that came into the world. And we're talking about Advent literally in the text this morning. So it's really, really fantastic. So we are going to be talking about hope this morning. Out of John 3:16, but each week symbolizes these four main things: hope, peace, joy, and love. Now, today is the first Sunday of Advent this year. There is a fantastic suggested Bible reading plan for Advent. Yeah, that's pretty decent coffee, Kev. I like that. I have learned how to tell different coffees apart from each other in the last 2 years. Miracles do happen. Before I was like, it's coffee. And now I'm like, oh, I can taste different influences on the coffee. Now, change happens. Miracles do happen this Christmas. How many of you, please don't raise your hands. Don't raise your hands. This is rhetorical. I don't want to put anybody on the spot. How many of you have been reading a proverb every day, like we talked about Wednesday, about a month ago? I said for November, let's read through a proverb. My kids have, and sometimes they'll miss a day, because one thing or the other, and they'll catch right back up. One of them even missed 2 days, and they said, Dad, I'm going to read 2 this day and 2 tomorrow. Is that okay? Yes. I just want you to read it. Yesterday, I was talking to one of my kids, and he said, Dad, I like the proverb because they don't sound super spiritual. You know what that means. It's not derogatory towards spiritual things, but they don't sound mystical or unapproachable. He said, it's just practical. He goes, I really like the one that says, whoever wakes you up with a loud voice in the morning is, not a good thing. It's actually really bad, even if they have good intentions. And I'm like, as a young person, I would have appreciated that verse a lot too. My mother, you can talk to her about this. She probably needs to be confronted about the sin in her life. She used to wake us up. I kid you not. I am not exaggerating. You're going to think I'm exaggerating. I promise you I'm not exaggerating. I promise you. Your HVAs and HVA. She would walk into the room in the morning, turn on the light, rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, rise and shine and give God the glory, glory, children of the world. Every morning.
It's better than a cookie sheet.
Is it, Kim? Is it? No, I'm joking. Because now I hate that song. Have you ever heard me sing that song? I can't stand. No, I do. I like the song just fine. Betsy did that same thing?
She didn't clap, but when she woke us up, Megan's night, that's what she did.
No kidding. We share scarrings, yeah. But she'd come right in, didn't care. She loved us so much. It was just the way she did things. Walked in, boop, with reckless abandon. She just flipped that light on. with just a flick of her finger, she determined our fate for the next 24 hours of our life. And just went, bing. And then she would do this clap where it wasn't like the typical clap. She would do the vertical clap when it was almost like a praying motion, right? Your praying posture when her hands met. And she would just rise and shine. And she would be loud on purpose.
I see your mother doing
Right. And yes, everything plays in. And by her own confession and admission, she's no Broadway star or whatever, but she could sing and she had the worst part about it was she would smile as though she was deriving some kind of pleasure from this.
So joyful.
And it's like, Mom, we get it. You've been up since 6 and I know it's 8:30, but enough with it. But in a funny anecdote, how many of you now can see the wisdom in a proverb, right? Is even if somebody's not doing something wrong, it can still be perceived as, oh, there's got to be better ways to do this, right? And I'm not saying my mom's wrong in doing that. Everybody's got a different style and everything, and I might be way worse off without it. But it was cool, right, to think about the proverbs. Now, your mission, should you choose to accept it, I'm actually going to move our church toward this. And I'm going to share this plan with the church, but these are very manageable. One might argue it's doubly manageable than the Proverbs, twice as manageable as the Proverbs in terms of reading time. And in terms of Proverbs, you really got to search them out. They make you think. So I'm not asking you to abandon reading the Proverbs every day. I think it's a good practice. But for Advent, you won't be able to read all this on the screen. I'm going to share this with you so it'll pull up on your phones and you'll be able to see these. But for Advent, there's a reading plan it starts December 1st, right? So December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. This is the reading plan. One of them has 28 verses. One of them has 4 verses. The other one has 16 verses. This one has 19 verses. This one has 13, 15, and 18. So we're talking not even a full chapter of the Bible and sometimes just a few verses. And they're meant to prepare our hearts. Let every heart prepare him room. Let's do that in our spirits this Christmas, right? And there's that. So these all have to do with hope. The Old Testament references really have to do with hope for Advent. Peace, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th all have to do with peace. And all of these texts reveal Christ as our peace. And by the way, please don't miss this. When you think peace, when I think peace, I think of the kind of peace like peace in the Middle East, right? Which is totally cool. I often think of the peace like on Christmas Eve, snow gently falling, and I got Mannheim Steamroller around. The record player, bless God, record player. No CDs for me, not with Mannheim Steamroller. Got to be the record. And the crisp crackling and the popping, and then I've got a beverage in my hand. I'm just watching the whether it's hot chocolate, I don't know, whatever, and the snow just falling, and then from downstairs, Mom! No, I'm just joking. They're older than that now. That was a while ago. Okay, no, but it's great. It was good stuff. These kids, when they laugh, they make me lose it. They have the best laugh. Anyway, but the biblical idea of peace is actually really a cessation when people lay down their arms. All right, that is the biblical idea of peace. It's about unity between two parties. So what's really cool is Paul makes sure that we understand that Jesus is our peace. He is that which nullifies the arms between two parties. Well, I thought God loved us. Yes, but God is a just judge, right? And the gavel has to come down. Whoever does not believe is condemned already because he has not believed. That's literally in our text today. But God loved the world in this way, and that he sent his unique only son. King James uses only begotten, Janol, but the word it has to do with uniqueness. Uniqueness. There is no other one. The only one that could do this did this. His unique only son. So that whoever believes in him won't die. Perish means die. Death. Actually, we would even use the word destroyed today. That would probably be the best way we translate that word. Whoever believes in him won't be destroyed, but he'll live forever. So he's setting up opposites. He won't die. He'll live. And the kind of life that Jesus gives doesn't ever end. That's peace. That's peace. So, and then thirdly, simply this, joy. 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st, we're talking about joy. This is Zechariah's prophecy, Mary's Magnificat, right? These beautiful pieces of prose. The shepherd's joy, Simeon and Anna, when they saw the child. This is awesome. And then you have the Magi's worship, the Zoroastrian priests, right? As they bless the nation. Absolutely beautiful. That's joy. And then, of course, Luke 2, the birth in Bethlehem, right? This is fantastic stuff. And then week 4 is love. There's 4 texts here because we're going 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 25th. The 24th is actually Hebrews 1 through 4. God, who in times past revealed himself in many different ways, like the prophets and things like that. But now he's revealed himself to us in what? In his son, Jesus, right? Who is the express image. That means the stamped image. Nobody's ever seen the stamp, but we see what the stamp leaves, so we know what the stamp looks like in reverse, right? That's what Hebrews says of Jesus. So that's actually the 24th. Before that, on the 23rd, is Philippians 2, 1 through 11. And then before that, on December 22nd, it's John 3, 16 through 21. And John 3, 16 through 21, I'll let you in on a sneak peek now. John 3, 1 through 15 is a conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus on the rooftop, yes? John 3, 16 through 21 is actually John's commentary on the entire conversation. I know, and I don't know what The Chosen does. I haven't seen the show. I hope they do it the way I do it. If not, they're wrong, and I'm happy to tell you that. No, I'm being facetious. But John 3, 16 through 21 is John looking at this conversation between Jesus and Nicodemus, and then he summarizes it for us, and he explains it. And you can tell in a couple of ways. One of the biggest is because it smacks of John's writing style and not Jesus' speaking style. John is summarizing everything that he just heard. He wants us to know. And then he talks about light. That's a Johannine trait. Right? You ever read 1 John? It's all about light, love, and truth, right? It's all about this stuff. Anyway, so right in John 3:16, for God so loved the world, right? And then he talks about light. So we know this is Johannine commentary for many reasons. So John 3:16 to 21 is the 22nd reading. And then, of course, on December 25th, Luke 2, 1 through 20. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'll probably cheat on this one. Just letting you know in advance what my intentions are, so that we can enter into this covenant faithfully, okay? On December 25th, we always watch the Bible Project video about the birth of Jesus. And they go through Luke 1 through 20, or 2, 1 through 20, and they do it with these beautiful graphics, and it's just absolutely insanely gorgeous. We've been doing that for years, multiple years, 4 or 5 years now, and it's been a blessing to me. So that is the reading plan. So I pray that God would give us a blessed and sacred, not scared, sacred Advent season. And I really do think, as one of your pastors, as somebody who loves you so much, I'm really encouraging you to hop onto this reading plan. Really, I don't think I'm talking to a group of people that needs to be persuaded to read the Bible. Amen. But at the same time, sometimes our flesh goes, I love you, Lord. I even love you too. Man, I'm tired. I get it. Got it. I got the t-shirt and bumper sticker. Cheryl made it for me. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And she made the t-shirt. No, I'm just kidding. But we can do this. And I think you'll be better off for doing it. So as we approach the Advent season, that's the reading plan. I want to encourage you to take a look at it. You say, where did you get the reading plan? Did you make it up? No. This is from the Bible Project. I actually was researching Bible reading plans, and literally I didn't say, tell me a Bible Project reading plan. I saw this reading plan. I'm like, this is awesome. Where does this come from? Bible Project. So it probably shouldn't surprise me. But anyways, I really like it, and I hope that we'll read it together. So let's take about 7 minutes, and then we'll be at 10:30, and we'll get started. All right? Sounds good. Yes. I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to put it in the church chat, but I'm also going to send it to print it.